All right, if you're in here to part 2, that means you watched part 1 and you're curious enough as to what I've got to say about it. And like I said, a lot of this is just my theory of what happened. A lot of it is documented from scientists. So even if you're an evolutionist, it's still documented. So what happened after the flood? Well, we talked about in part 1 about the flood coming down, the rains for the very first time, the earthquakes, and the water coming up from the bottom, and people being hysteric and scared out of their wits, and animals being destroyed. And why did God destroy the animals? Because they didn't do anything, and things of this nature. There was a reason why God destroyed the animals also. But that's, like I said, you have to really do a lot of research to find out what's going on and why God flooded the earth to destroy all mankind and animals. There's a reason why God killed the animals too. Okay? Now, where we're at now is what happened when the flood happened. What changed the earth? We went over Noah was 600 years old when the flood came, and it was not unknown for people to live that long. People lived a lot longer life before the flood happened. Animals lived a lot longer before the flood. My dog's chewing on stuff. But what happened? All right, we talked about that there was a bubble of water around the earth. Molly, quit tearing that up. There was a bubble of water around the earth. Now, scientists agree there was moisture around the earth. Now, they don't know if it was vapor, solid water, or frozen ice. They don't know. But they do know from the evidence that they have dug up from trees and leaves and animals and human remains and things of that nature, that there was water that actually filtered the sunlight and took out the ultraviolet rays, and it actually held the atmosphere held oxygen better from the leaves of the trees and the tree barks and things that they have found, the grasses and the plants that they have found show like 100% oxygen level, where now we've only got like a 60% or something of that. And I don't know exact numbers, but it was way under more or higher before the flood than it is now. Not to mention that the ultraviolet rays that are coming down now destroy the human body faster. It destroys the animals' bodies faster. That's evident because of the cancers and things of that nature. All kind of skin cancers from the sun. So we know there was something there to protect before the flood, and it's gone now. So what's going on? This bubble's gone. The atmosphere is leaking out. Trees and plants don't live as long. They don't get near as large. So less vegetation is less oxygen. Less oxygen means a shorter lifespan. Okay? Now, I said that I was going to tell about dinosaurs in one of my other videos, and I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Dinosaurs still live with us today. Now, a lot of you are going to say, no, they don't. It's all myth and things of this nature. Now, go back and do your research and listen to your scientists. These are who are telling you about evolution, and these are the ones you want to believe, so listen to them. They're actually right on this part. Now, let's not go there yet. All dinosaurs that have been dug up or found have been determined to be some type of reptile. Okay? Reptile basically breaks it down to lizards and snakes. And I know some of you already said there's no way in the world a lizard was a dinosaur. Yes, it was. Think about it. The Komodo dragon, they live to be 60, 70 years old. Look at how large they get. I was looking at one here the other day that is 13 feet long, stands up 4 feet tall. Okay? Now, if he only lives 60 to 70 years and he's that large, Imagine what that Komodo dragon would be if he lived to be 600 years old. Now you say, no, they grow to a certain size and they stop. It's like we do. No, go back and do your research and look at your science and stuff like that. Lizards never stop growing. They grow till the day they die. Now, most common lizards, yard lizards and things like that, they don't live long. I mean, 3-4 years maximum. And I had one lizard out here, and I watched him. I mean, I seen him when he was about that big, and I watched him. Actually, I played with him that year. I found him. He was about 2 inches long, and he was on a little tree out here, and he stayed around that tree. I'd go out there every other day or so, and I'd find him, and I got to a point to where I could hold my hand out like that, and he would actually crawl up on my hand, okay? And I got him to where he would calm down enough to where I could actually rub him a little bit, okay? Now, I noticed when I was rubbing him that he had a defect behind his ear, okay? Now, this was just a defect that was definitely obvious, okay? There's no way you could have missed it. I seen it. When winter came, he disappeared naturally. I always do. But next spring, I go back out there, and here's a lizard that's a little bit longer. He's about 3 to 3.5 inches. I've put my hand up, and believe it or not, this lizard crawls right back up on my finger, and I go to looking at it, and he's got that defect behind his ear, okay? So I go to rubbing him. Now, evidently, he's got a mind because he was not scared of me. He'd crawl right up on my hand, and he would let me go to rubbing him, just like that. Now, this is strange. I know people don't play with lizards, but I just, I think they're fascinating little creatures. I've done this for 4 years in a row. Now, believe it or not, started off as a little 2-inch lizard that would crawl up on my finger. The last time I seen him, put my hand out and he crawled up, he went from the inside of my wrist, get this where you can see me, from the inside of my wrist, and his tail, his feet, his back feet would sit right along in here, and his tail hung off the back of my hand. I was estimating that he was up to approximately 8 inches long. Now, he was about 3/4 of an inch wide. Now, you say lizards don't get that big. I've got several different kinds of lizards here. I've got the little green lizards, that turn colors depending on what they're on. And then we've got an old brown lizard. And then we've got what I call a horn lizard. Now, I don't know what the technical name for it is, but they've got two little ridges on their head that look like horns. Their body gets a lot bigger. Now, this thing, like I say, he was about 8 inches long. Now, this is the last time I seen him. But he crawled up in my hand just like he did the 3 years prior to that. And I could rub him. I mean, he got used to me. He remembered me every year. And after that year, now I never seen him again. I don't know if something like a snake or whatever got him or he died or whatever. But that was approximately 4 years. He went from about 2 inches up to about 8 inches. Well, that's what got me to thinking, if that lizard never stops growing and he grew that much in 4 years, how much would that lizard grow in 100 years? Okay? We don't have the oxygen, so our bodies are not as healthy as they were before the flood. Our lifespan has dropped from 600 years down to less than 100. This is animal and human. We have a lot more sickness now than we had before the flood because of the sun rays. And, all of these things happen. Trees don't grow as big. Plants don't grow as big. And if they don't grow as big, they don't put off as much oxygen. If they don't put off as much oxygen, we're not breathing as much. Plus, the atmosphere is allowing the oxygen to escape just a little bit. Okay? So we don't have near the oxygen or near the lifespan. Now, there is a tube, and I don't remember where this tube is at, but they are experimenting with it, and they have been for several years. But inside this tube, they put a certain amount of pressure to symbolize the pressure of the earth, the atmospheric pressure, or barometric pressure of the earth before the flood to simulate it. And they also pump in the amount of oxygen that has been is simulated. Now, they have put certain things in this tube to experiment to see what the difference would have been. Now, if you watch it, Kent Hovind actually went there, and they allowed him to go into this tube. They very slowly pressurized it, increased the oxygen, and I forget how long he stayed in there, but it wasn't long. It was like 6 hours or something like that, 4 hours, whatever it was. But he states that when he came out, he felt like a teenager again. said he could tell that his body was different. He could tell that he was breathing different. He felt younger. He felt more alert. He felt more energized. So there you go. Now, I do know they put a piranha in it. Now, the last time I checked on it, piranhas normally grow up to about 6 inches. That's normal for a piranha, about 6 to 7 inches. They put a piranha in this tube and left him. I don't know how long he's been there now. Like I said, last time I checked, this piranha was over 18 inches long. Okay? That's how much this piranha grew when they put him in this pressurized tube with all the oxygen and barometric pressure and all this. So there was a big difference before the flood. Okay? So now we've covered what happened and all this. So now we're, but these are things that the Bible explains. These are things that even the scientists can explain. Now, even though some scientists say, no, the entire world wasn't flooded, it was just a portion of the world, I kind of believe the Bible. The Bible says everything was destroyed. Well, if it says everything, it means everything except what was inside the ark. Now, we'll talk more about the ark in a different video, because there's a lot of unique stuff about where the ark settled and what was going on and what kept it from breaking and everything of this nature. I mean, it's pretty unique as to how this ark was built, okay? We know it was 450 feet long. We know that it was supposed to be 75 feet wide. And we know that it was supposed to be 45 feet tall with 3 decks in it. We know the roof was supposed to be 16 inches above the hull of the boat. Why 16 inches, I don't know, but that's what the Bible states. One thing we didn't cover, I kind of briefly talked about it. This Bible has been translated where we can understand it, and it talks about the ark being in feet, which is what we understand, but it was actually measured in cubics. Okay, now you have to understand the translation could be off a little bit, okay, because we don't know exactly what size man that Noah was. A cubic is measured from the tip of your finger to the end of your elbow. Now, that's a cubic. So when God told Adam to build it, he told him how many cubics to measure it. Now, and we can do an average. A 5-foot man has got an average cubic. A 6-foot man has got an average cubic. And we don't know exactly how tall or how big Noah was. But estimating average size and break the cubic down to feet, it comes up to 450 feet long, 75 feet wide, and 45 feet tall with 3 decks in it. Okay. All right. I'm going to leave it here. Like I said, all this stuff, what comes from the Bible, I can't say, but my own thoughts are just my thoughts. I would be curious as to what you think, so leave me some comments. If you didn't leave a comment on the first one, please back up and go back to the first one, leave me a comment, tell me what you think. I'm not saying anything down on creation. God gave us all a mind. He gave us all free will. We have the right to think and believe in any way we want to. Just because I choose to believe one way, that doesn't make me wrong. Just because you choose to believe in a different way does not make you wrong. I guess the only way we'll really know who is right is after we die. If I believe in God, so when I die, if I face God, I'm prepared to face him. And not that you'll ever get me to not believe it, but if it was so, what have I lost? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. But let's say you don't believe in God, and you don't live right for him, and you don't trust in him, and you die, and there is no God. I guess you're safe. But if you're wrong, then you've got to face God. Don't believe what I say. Believe what this says. It says when you face God, if your name is not written in the book of the Lamb, in the Lamb's book of life, God will say, "Depart from me, I never knew you." And he talks, and you can read it for yourself. Don't take my word. Read it for yourself. He says you will be cast into the fiery pits of hell. Something a lot of people don't want to talk about. Something a lot of preachers won't even preach about is what kind of place is hell. Study. The Bible tells you. fiery pit, continuous fire, where the flesh never burns and the worm never dies. It talks about continuously falling, nowhere to land, nowhere to stop. You continuously fall forever. Worms will continuously eat your body, eat your flesh. You will be able to see the people in heaven that tried to tell you different. There will be gnashing of teeth, beating of people. Anybody you can get contact with, you'll be fighting them and beating them and blaming them for where you're at. But when it all boils down, there's only one person to blame, and that's ourselves. God says we don't have the right to judge. And I done about a 6-month study. What does it mean to judge someone? It gets deep. We all judge. Even though I try my best not to judge, we all do it. But God says we don't have that right. He didn't give us that right to judge anyone. And if we judge, God says He will judge us in the same way. Not trying to turn this into a religious battle or a religious thing, but I'm talking about what I read in the Bible, and I do believe. Like I said, you have your rights, you have your beliefs. You don't have to believe. That's your choice. God gives us free will. But I just want to give you food for thought. Think about it. If you watch my channel or you know me at all, you know I don't talk a whole lot about religion, because I feel like that I don't want to be forced into anything, and I don't want to try to push anybody into anything. So I kind of give you a little bit of information, and I leave it with you. You make the decision. That's what God says. We all have to make our own decision. So I know I don't like to be pushed into things, so I don't push anybody. But I do like to talk to people sometimes and let them know what the true word is. Now, there's other things in the Bible I want to talk about, and I'll talk about more creation a little later on, and I'll talk about more evolution a little later on. But this is where I wanted to go with these two videos. Just wanted to talk about the flood, what happened, what's going on. Just a little brief thing on dinosaurs, and you can believe me or not believe me, but go back and look. Lizards are the one thing that never stops growing until the day they die. They continuously grow. All dinosaurs, scientists have marked them as reptiles. Okay? Reptiles are snakes and lizards. Can you imagine a snake living 600 years? I mean, look at a boa constrictor, how big they get now. Imagine that boa constrictor living to be about 6 or 700 years old. It's just food for thought. The Bible talks about it. God bless. Play hard, play safe. Thanks for watching. Comment, subscribe if you like. I know I'm a little nutty sometimes, and a lot of people don't like me. I am different. I think different. I see things different. I live a little different sometimes. But that's all right. God made us all the same. It'd be a boring world, wouldn't it? God bless. Play hard, play safe. Don't play stupid. You know what it'll get you. Thanks again.